It's July 2026, and if you've been anywhere near a Ranger Forum, a dealership service bay, or the NHTSA recall database this year, you already know this hasn't been a quiet 12 months for Ford's best-selling truck. This channel does one thing. We collect real ownership experiences from real people around the world and put them in one place. Not press reviews, not dealer opinions. The daily reality. So you can hear what this truck is actually like on a Tuesday morning, not just on launch day. Picture the scene that plays out every weekday morning for a lot of Ranger owners. Driveway, first light, catching those bold C-clamp headlights and the muscular fenders. The work tray still holding yesterday's tools. The diesel settling into its idle while the windscreen defrosts. For most owners, that first year has genuinely been a good one. The Ranger has been Australia's best-selling vehicle overall for 3 years running now, ahead of the Toyota Hilux, and it remains one of the most popular utes in the UK and one of the most talked about mid-size trucks on Canadian forums too. But problems after 1 year doesn't mean the honeymoon phase. It means what shows up once the newness wears off, and this year a lot has shown up. Let's start with what's documented, not opinion. Since early 2025, Ford has filed a genuinely long list of recalls covering the 2024 through 2026 Ranger. In April 2026, NHTSA confirmed a recall covering 140,201 trucks over sun visor and headliner wiring that may be pinched or wrapped with excessive tape during assembly, which can strip the insulation and cause an electrical short near the A-pillar. This isn't a minor paperwork issue. Ford's own filing notes 4 field reports between July and September 2025, including 1 confirmed vehicle fire and 3 trucks with scorching or smoke around the sun visor lamp circuit. HTSA's advice to affected owners has been blunt. Park outside until the repair is done. Warning signs to watch for are flickering sun visor mirror lights or an overhead console behaving erratically. Now, stay with me, because there's more, and this is where the picture gets genuinely more complicated. In April 2026, a separate recall covering 117,343 Ranger trucks and Bronco SUVs from 2024 through 2026 went out over a front seat frame issue, a height adjust pivot bolt that can come loose or dislodge, meaning the seat may not properly restrain an occupant in a crash. And in the months before that, roughly 100,900 Rangers from the same 2024 to 2026 window were recalled because side curtain airbags could tear on deployment, contacting a sharp edge on the B-pillar's inner reinforcement, discovered when the Ranger only marginally passed its own side impact crash test. Then there's the one that's actually left owners in limbo the longest. In March 2026, Ford notified NHTSA of an exhaust gas recirculation valve defect. The EGR valve's poppet head can detach, which Ford says leads to a loss of drive power, most likely at low speeds under 20 kilometers an hour, though the company acknowledges it can't rule out a stall at higher speeds. Ford's own investigation started back in July 2025 after 5 warranty claims came in from trucks with fewer than 6,000 miles on them. Owners started receiving interim letters from March 16, 2026, but here's the frustrating part. Ford didn't have a fix ready. The interim letter essentially told owners, "We know about it, a repair is coming," with the actual replacement parts not expected at dealerships until around September 2026. One owner on the Ranger 6G forum described exactly the symptom before he even knew about the recall. A sudden dropout hesitation, lasts a second or two, and then suddenly returns. At that point, I've floored it trying to accelerate. He said he'd have booked a service appointment if he hadn't just found out it was a pending recall instead. For the Ranger specifically, this recall affects a narrower slice than the headline number suggests. NHTSA's paperwork lists 211 model year 2025 Ranger units within the wider 47,804 vehicle recall spanning 9 Ford and Lincoln models. If you're watching this and you already own a 2025 or 2026 Ranger, I'd genuinely love to know if your VIN came up in any of these. it's worth checking directly on the NHTSA site rather than waiting for the letter. In Australia, the story has its own local chapter. Ford recalled 13,490 examples of the Ranger and Everest built between 2022 and 2025 over a manufacturing defect affecting the 3.0-liter turbo diesel V6 engine. Enough that car experts' own reviewers noted it made the older bi-turbo four-cylinder more attractive for paranoid buyers on run-out stock, even with its own history of wet timing belt concerns from the outgoing 2.0-liter engine, which is exactly why Ford quietly replaced it with a simpler single-turbo diesel design for the MY26.5 update. And then there's the story that's been harder to shake off in Australian owner circles specifically. An Adelaide resident, Kai Keller, purchased a 2022 Ford Ranger Wildtrak New for roughly 85,000 Australian dollars. That's somewhere around 56,000 US dollars, or about 44,000 pounds, converting roughly at current rates. According to reporting on his case, despite relatively low mileage, the truck has been through 5 warranty repairs, and Keller has publicly called it a nightmare lemon while pursuing a refund. In a separate ongoing dispute, another owner, Matthew Petruno, bought an ex-demonstrator 2022 Ranger Raptor with just 4,000 kilometers on it and says the truck lost power in peak hour Sydney traffic within months, on top of oil-related issues and 3 services in 10 months. Ford has reportedly argued the truck simply needed more frequent servicing under what it classifies as severe urban driving conditions. An appeal panel actually pushed back on that explanation, suggesting Ford should be warning city buyers more clearly that Rangers may behave differently in stop-start traffic. And the case is set to be reheard. Now, both of these are earlier generation 2022 Rangers, not the 2026 model specifically, but they're the same RA Series platform underneath, and they're part of the reputation new 2026 buyers are walking into. On the more everyday, less dramatic end of things, U.S. owners on Consumer Reports' subscriber survey for the 2024 and 2025 Ranger have flagged a scattered mix of smaller frustrations. A driver in Iowa described a wiring harness fault that triggered the engine light, 4-wheel drive malfunction, and low-power warnings simultaneously, requiring 3 weeks in the dealership before it was traced back to bad wiring. A West Virginia owner described rough, hesitant shifting on takeoff. An Arizona owner flagged the infotainment display freezing up and being inconsistent to use day to day. Now let's talk about what it costs to actually own one, because that's where geography really matters. In Australia, Ford backs the current Ranger with a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty, and scheduled servicing sits at 12 months or 15,000 kilometers, priced at 399 Australian dollars per visit for each of the first 5 services, roughly 260 US dollars or around 205 pounds. Converting at today's rates, that's a genuinely reasonable, predictable number compared to a lot of its competitors, and it's one of the things that keeps Ranger owners loyal even through a rough recall year. Here's the thing that's actually worth sitting with, though. None of this makes the Ranger a bad truck. It's still Australia's favorite vehicle overall, not just favorite ute, for 3 years straight, and it remains a serious seller in the UK and a genuine contender in Canada's competitive mid-size truck market. What this year has shown is that Ford has been playing catch-up on quality control across a genuinely wide net of models, and Ranger owners have been caught in that net more than once. Some of these issues, the wiring, the seat bolts, the airbags, get free dealer fixes, and once repaired, are done. The EGR situation is the one still actively frustrating owners, because there's no fix yet, just a promise for September. We covered the Tesla Model Y's own rocky first year not long ago, and it's a genuinely interesting contrast. Different kind of vehicle, different kind of problems, but the same underlying story of a manufacturer moving fast and owners absorbing the growing pains. If you're cross-shopping a Ranger against something like the Toyota Hilux